Hey Fields friends, I'm here today to teach you about schema when reading. Schema is when we use our background knowledge to make connections with a text that we're reading. So when you're reading your book tonight at home, maybe you can use your schema and show the grown-ups at home all the things that you can relate to. So there's three connections you can make when using your schema. You can have a text-to-text connection where it reminds you of another book. You can have a text-to-self connection where it reminds you of something that's happened to you, or you can have a text-to-world connection where the book reminds you of something happening in the world. So when we use our schema, there are some things that we want to start our sentences with. Some of those things could be, this reminds me of, I have schema for, I can make a connection to this because. So we're going to read together After the Fall. And this is how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. And as I read this book, I'm going to think aloud and show you how to use your schema when reading. So already I have schema and I'm making a text-to-text connection to Humpty Dumpty because I've read Humpty Dumpty before, so I'm already having schema to what this story might be about. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to all the birds. Then one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand, but it was just an accident. But it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I am making a connection here. I am also very afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. I'm using my schema here, and I'm remembering a day when one of my students made a paper airplane. This page reminded me of that. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. This page I have schema for because this is reminding me of flying a kite. Have you ever flown a kite before? I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it, but I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time, until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. I have schema for Humpty Dumpty's story about when he fell, so this page made me really happy to see that he got back up. And learned how to fly. This helps me make a connection to one time in my life. I'm making a text-to-self connection of when I didn't think I could beat my brother in a race, but I finally believed in myself, and I practiced and practiced, and finally I beat him. The end. So if you can use schema when reading, it's going to help you become a better reader because you'll be thinking about what you already know, your background knowledge, and making connections that will help you remember the story and focus more on what you're reading. So have fun using your schema, readers. See you soon.